Capitalism is dead. Long live the king, if that king is Technofeudalism. According to Yanis Varoufakis in his 2023 book Technofeudalism, What Killed Capitalism, this is what finally killed the beast. This is the Grim Reaper. But unfortunately for lefties like Varoufakis, this is pretty much more of the same. Instagram saw it first, by the way, so go and check that out for other book ratings, quotes, and recommendations. I'll leave the pinned comment. And please like and subscribe and tell us what you think in the comments. In order to get the right frame of mind, I think this quote from the book needs to be said. For many, life under constant surveillance is intolerable. They rebel at the thought that big tech knows us better than anyone should. I sympathize, but to be honest, I am less worried about what they know and far, far more worried about what they own. My ratings for this book are as follows: usefulness 60, engagement 78, depth 50, accuracy 60, clarity 50, uniqueness 84, book cover 55, overall score 61.92. First, we gotta get into what technofeudalism is. And technofeudalism is a concept proposed by Yanis Varoufakis to describe the current and therefore new economic and social order, which sounds something like digital feudalism. Unlike capitalism, where competition and markets drive economic activity, technofeudalism is characterized by monopolistic control over digital platforms, data, and algorithms. Here are two quotes from the book that describe the new world order. Capitalism is dying indirectly of its own hand, a deserving victim of its greatest creation, not the proletariats, but the cloudalists. And little by little, capitalism's two great pillars, profit and market, are being replaced. Profit, the engine of capitalism, has been replaced with its feudal predecessor, rent. Specifically, it is a form of rent that must be paid for access to those platforms and to the cloud more broadly. I call it cloud rent. From these few quotes, we can see where Varoufakis is heading with this book and what his main thesis is. I do like the structure of the book. It is structured in a format that has Varoufakis sending a letter to his deceased dad, who, as he stated, was a socialist himself, and he really formed Varoufakis into the man he is. Varoufakis constantly asks questions of his dad and answers old questions from their previous conversations that they had when he was alive. Conversations that relate to social, economic, and political issues. And Varoufakis ties this all into the new world order of technofeudalism. Varoufakis' writing is wonderful, and those who have read his books before will know. I previously read And the Weak Suffer What They Must, and my god, what a book. I did have to score it from memory, and it is due a reread. Relating to Varoufakis' dad, generational differences are widely talked about, and it's easy to see why. We get some of that in this book in regards to about being able to leave work at work. Varoufakis uses his dad's generation's perks of being able to disconnect from work to illustrate this. Quote, possessive individualism has always been detrimental to mental health. Technofeudalism made things infinitely worse when it demolished the fence that used to provide the liberal individual with a refuge from the market. One thing I love about this book is that it just got me thinking about so much and how we all play a part in the system even when we don't want to. And you see this with videos and articles regarding capitalism and the rat race and living off the grid. It's hard to just totally disconnect. And so with the quote I just mentioned, it made me think of side hustles and monetizing hobbies like I'm attempting to do now. We just can't seem to have any time for ourselves, just due to the way the system is, that now we're forced to try and monetize our hobbies. That monetizing hobbies is quite a profound statement. We're supposed to have downtime, leisure time, but in the system it's hard. It's hard to do that. It also made me think about the craziness of social media sites, especially Twitter. And Elon Musk is talked about a lot in this book. and I'll get to that a bit later. But most importantly, this quote kind of relates to the relevancy of the current right to disconnect laws that are being actioned, proposed, and talked about all over the world. The real world trends and complaints really lend themselves to Varoufakis' argument. When it comes to technofeudalism, the big question is what actually makes it differ from capitalism? And that is a hard thing to really distinguish. And with this book, I'm not quite sure Varoufakis goes in depth enough to satisfy the curiosity around that question. For example, Varoufakis believes that the mutation of capitalism is technofeudalism, but it can't be downplayed linguistically. He admits that there is overlap with capitalism, and at times this overlap makes technofeudalism seem indistinguishable from capitalism. However, due to the evolution of it, Varoufakis is adamant that we need to call it by a new name. He makes an example of the feudalist system and how it had a lot in common with capitalism. However, we eventually, as a society, as a people, had to call a spade and acknowledge the differences once capitalism had emerged and really taken hold. And he says the same thing for technofeudalism. Again, I'm not sure about the book, about the thesis in this book. Read the book, it's a good book. But Varoufakis' argument, I'm not sure about, because he's stating the whole system has changed. But in the book, I think that he concentrates a bit too much on the big wigs and the billionaires and what they're doing. For example, Elon Musk is used to portray how technofeudalism works and the desire for it. Quote, "What did he mean by an everything app? He meant nothing less than a gateway to technofeudalism, one that would allow him to attract users' attention, modify their consumer behavior, extract free labor from them as cloud serfs, and last but not least, charge vendors cloud rent for selling them their wares." I should also note, and I should have mentioned this earlier, that Varoufakis has a lot of new terms, like you see cloud serfs, cloudalists, etc., to really drive home everyone's place within this new world order. It's easy to follow, and he explains everything, of course, but that should be noted. Don't be concerned if you read this and you see things such as cloud rent and cloud serfs and all that. But yeah, I enjoyed this book. I very much did. I'm quite a big fan of Varoufakis. I like watching his talks and everything. I do watch a lot of his videos, and I've got to read a lot more of his books too, so there's that. Speaking of books, if you're looking for reviews, talks, my thoughts on other books, I have many of those which you can check out in this playlist here. There will definitely be something for you. Thank you all for watching, for listening. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.